In this Star Wars Gaming news update video, I will be sharing with you details on a re-release of a classic game, Star Wars The Clone Wars. The predecessor to Star Wars Battlefront is coming to new platforms, and I have the release dates, screenshots, and features. But before we do take a look at all of them though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future news updates on Star Wars games. So, over the past couple of years, a few classic Star Wars games have been re-released through emulation on PlayStation. Specifically, the titles we have seen include The Phantom Menace, Rebel Assault 2 and Demolition. These PS1 titles released with some improvements here and there, and they were made available to PlayStation Premium members at no extra charge, or for a small fee if you did want to purchase them individually. Those are PS1 titles, and that's pretty much all what PlayStation have released over the past few years. It has been 4 years since they have released a PS2 title, but that is changing because PlayStation themselves leaked today on their store that Star Wars The Clone Wars from Pandemic is coming to PS4 and PS5. Spotted by the PS Deals site and Gematsu, the product listing lists the game as releasing on June 11th. So less than a month away from releasing. And as I said, it would be made available on the PS4 and PS5, not just the PS4 like the previous PS2 games that have come back through emulation. So this game has basically been converted, like the other games, to work on PS4 and PS5. And they've also got some new features as well. As for multiplayer, because I know many people will be asking, there is no actual multiplayer other than offline multiplayer, so split screen. You'll be able to play up to 2 players in this game, but it has to be offline. As for the additional new features as part of this conversion, there will be up rendering, so it looks sharper on higher resolution displays that you have, such as 1080p and 4K. In theory, this will look better than the original if you were just to use the old version on the PS2. There is also the ability to quick save and rewind, so you can go back if you do make a mistake. And there are also custom video filters as well to overlay on the entire game. This suite of features is what's typically included in all of the converted PS1 and PS2 games, so nothing new here, but it's a nice to have, especially that quick save and up rendering. And as I mentioned, there are some screenshots as well to show it. Of course, there is some softness in the image. At the end of the day, it is still a PS2 game that released in 2002. Things like textures and some UI pieces are a bit blurry, but what can you do? These screenshots are actually at 4K resolution, so they have been taken from the newly converted PS5 version, and these were accidentally uploaded to the PlayStation servers by PlayStation. That's why we have them. This is what the game will look like at 4K on a PS4 Pro or PS5. As for trophies, I know many people will be asking about this. We actually don't have a definitive answer. Typically the PS1 games don't get trophies, but this is a PS2 game, and previous PS2 games have had trophies, but the store listing does not say anything about trophies, unfortunately, so they might not be part of it, but I will release a community tab post, so make sure you do subscribe if trophies are officially confirmed. For the most part, I think people will have a good time with this. The usual price for these games, at least for the PS1 games, have been around $4, $5, things like that. Perhaps because this is a PS2 game, it might be a little bit more, so just bear that in mind. But still, this is going to be made available for you to purchase individually on PS4 and PS5 if you don't have a PlayStation Plus premium subscription. If you do have that subscription tier, then you're going to be able to play this game from June 11th for no extra cost. Whilst this has not been officially announced at this moment in time, it probably will do in the coming days, and the release of June 11th, given that this same situation has happened for the previous Star Wars games coming back through emulation. So yeah, expect it on June 11th, but I will put out a community tab post if, say, the release date does change. This game was the game that Pandemic made before creating Battlefront, the most popular Star Wars gaming series of all time, and it has just been an incredible sub-franchise of Star Wars for 2 decades now. So many of us love it, so many of you have spent tons of hours playing the classic games and the newer games, but this Clone Wars game is what sort of kicked it all off, because this was what Pandemic made before moving on to Battlefront, which was their next title in 2004. And you can tell that there is some similarity between the two games. Are you going to be checking out this Clone Wars game? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video. Do you have any classic memories? Personally, I got into Star Wars after it had been released, and I started with Battlefront, so unfortunately I did miss this game. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, subscribe so you don't miss any future news updates on Star Wars gaming, and if you did miss any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.